Welcome to Waste Your Time Wisely podcast.
Yay. Hello, we are here today with Miss Charles. Is that your legal name now?
I mean, don't call me Miss, but yes, my last name is Charles legally.
Did you middle name your last name?
Yeah. But I have two middle names, so I didn't lose any names. I just added on.
You added on. You're gonna keep adding on.
Yeah.
So we are here today to talk about reading and other stuff. So one of the reasons I brought you here is to say hello, but also because I wanted to know. I notice a lot of people read, but I notice a lot more people don't read. And then I read this study on Wall Street Journal that said I think an average person reads half a book in a year.
Oh God.
And,
I'm not
and
the average person then. I
You're
don't
not the
fall
average
into that
person at all.
category.
So if there are people like you skewing up that graph, right? So let's say you read a book a month just on average. So if you read a book a month, so you're reading 12 and the average is half, that means there's a lot of zeros.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to talk to you about because I'm always amazed to see like Barnes and Nobles in business or like Amazon has pivoted
That's
away.
because you're not a reader. It doesn't amaze me at all. I see how much money I spend on books in a year, and I'm like,
But you
I
think
never question why bookstores are
so
still a
I'm in that weird like I hoard books and I buy all these books even though I have books to read and I still check out books in the library. And I read pretty fast, but I don't read fiction. I only read nonfiction, which is I don't know,
Well,
kind of like telltelling of me, I guess. So we're gonna talk about reading and like what got you to start reading in the first place, and then like why do you think some people don't read? So first question being, give us a little introduction about yourself.
hello, I am Dana. I am 31. I am a therapist, and most of my hobbies that I enjoy doing are indoors and sitting down. And one of those things is reading. I average about, let's see, I think last year was a slow year for me, and I read 30 books. Yeah.
I don't think people read 30 books in their lifetime.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. Which is crazy to me because I don't know, I find so much like contentment and joy in reading that I'm like, what do people do when they have like downtime? I don't know how people don't read, honestly. But I've always wanted to do the 52 books in a year challenge because it's like a book a week.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to 50 before, but I have yet to hit the 52. And I have slowed down significantly since having a baby because, downtime is limited. But
Is that what happens when you have a kid? I had no idea. I thought you just read to the kid.
doing your regular things. Yeah, no. I mean, I still have my kid is lucky for me, like awesome at sleeping and stuff. So like I still have time. I still read pretty frequently, but yeah, I also take longer to read a book if it's not quite doing it for me. So
Yeah.
like some books I'll finish in a couple days and then other ones it's like I'm still reading it like 2 weeks later.
I used to feel really content when like James Patterson book, I could probably read it in like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's like an
Yeah.
ebook book. I could get it done. I'm like, "Oh, look at
100%.
that. Look at
Yeah.
that. Just read 5 James Patterson books in a week." But I have this books on physics that I still have. I'm on chapter 3, and I've been on chapter 3 for, like, past 4 months. I just
Because you're trying to read a book about physics.
and it's just there, and it's not even a big book. It's just kinda there looking at me like, "You're dumb." I'm like, "I'll take it." So with that being said, do you read to your kid? Not to turn this into a mom podcast.
Yeah, no, I do. I do. She's super into The Little Hungry Caterpillar at this
Yeah.
moment. She also likes she has a few books that have like these little felt flaps that she can turn over and see something behind it. So she's into the sensory stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I read to her all the time.
Do you count those as your books too? Like, do they count as 50?
Tay.
No?
No.
No?
No.
'Cause, I mean, I think you could easily hit 52, right?
Yeah, if I was reading a bunch of little 8-page children books, I'm sure I could. But no, I don't count those.
Do you remember the first book you finished?
No. I remember the first books that like had an impact on me, which you already know, but I mean, I started reading, I think, oh, my mom can confirm this when she gets here in a little bit, but I think I was reading when I was 2. And I would like blast through a bunch of kiddie books. So I don't know. But then I remember when I was maybe like 6 or 7, is when my mom started reading Harry Potter to me, and that's when I really, like, started being like, "Oh, like, this is something that, means a lot to me that I could do for hours on end and My mom, even when we phased out of like needing naps during the day, she would make us have quiet time, which I realize now, it's like funny to me because I'm like, oh yeah, my child will definitely be having quiet time also. But um, I would just sit and read book after book after book. And yeah, so I don't really remember a definitive like, oh, this was the first book I read or whatever. But when I was probably 6, 7 is when I started really being like an avid reader.
Nice. What was the last book you read? I guess that's an easier question. Or you last book you finished or you're reading currently?
Okay. So my last book that I finished was one for my little book club. What was the name of it? I remember the author, but I don't remember the name. But it was a little like thriller novel. And I have a book club with 3 of my close friends, 2 of which were in my bridal party that you that you know. And it was like a little psychological thriller. It was a quick read. And then I think it was called On a Quiet Street. Yeah, that was it.
You remember the author?
Seraphine Glass, something like that, I think. It was not an author I had heard of, and it wasn't my friend Kaylee, she picked for the month. So it was average. It
Mhm.
was average. It was decent. Decent's like one little step above average.
How
But
does
now I'm reading this one. If anyone watches this, that's like a big fantasy nerd, which a lot of people that I know love this series and are obsessed with it right now, is the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. I don't know if you've heard of this,
that
but I read
sounds like a Guns N' Roses song.
it's not. I'm reading the second book in that installment right now. It's called A Court of Mist and Fury. And it is I don't want to I don't want to bring haters to your podcast, so we don't
Bring
have
it.
to talk about
Bring
that.
him. Bring him on. It's fine.
The first book was so fucking average, and I was like, I do not understand how so and this is like, Tay, I'm not joking, this is like Harry Potter level fandom, okay? Like, people are obsessed with this series, and I read the first book and I was like, "That was so fucking mediocre," and I'm like, "I don't know why." So, anyway, I was reading it on a Kindle, and I got 65% through before I was at all interested, which to me is a fail. Like, come on, like we gotta hit some interest by like 25 to 30% or I'm not like no. But then it did get pretty good at the end, and then a friend of mine who's obsessed with the series was like, just wait, the first book is like the worst one of the whole series, the second one's amazing. And I was like, okay, so now I'm reading the second one and it is better. I still don't really understand the full hype, but I am invested more in this one. So that's the current read.
Is it pretty big world building like Game of Thrones
Yeah.
or
Yes, and that's exactly why I was like, okay, the first book, I was like willing to try the second book only because I saw the potential of it being good at the end of the first book and I was like, well, maybe since they did the whole world building thing for the majority of the first book,
Mhm.
maybe we'll skip some of that in the second one. But I'm learning it is so to me, when I was explaining it to my friend, I was like, I feel like it's if Twilight and Beauty and the Beast had a baby, it's like this book. But then I'm also seeing pieces of I don't know if I wouldn't say she's like stealing it from, but she's inspired by Game of Thrones, Harry Potter. So it kind of is like, it's pulling themes from a lot of different fantasy type books. So it's not bad, but I feel as I read that I'm like, okay, this has been done again and again by authors who, in my opinion, are better writers. So yeah, I'm a harsh critic though, and I'm totally aware of that. And I feel like with the way the second book is going, there's a good chance that I'll end up really like liking the series and it's like
Mhm.
an entertaining read. But yeah,
How many books are there so far?
I don't know. That's the other thing. So this series that I'm reading, I think it has 6. I actually don't know. I really
Mm.
don't know. There's a decent amount in this one, and then she also has another series called Throne of Glass that apparently everyone who knows me is like, "You're gonna like Throne of Glass better, but you have to read this series first." And I'm like, "Okay." So I just signed up to read like 10 books by the same author that I don't necessarily feel like super invested in yet, but we'll see. I'm open-minded.
This is a pretty open confession, but I think people know it by now. So I sometimes have to go to screenings for movies I don't really want to watch, but
Mm.
I have to either A, support somebody who worked on it, or B, it's free, or I got invited to
But
it, so I have to
yeah.
go. So there's a scene in the TV show Entourage. Ari Emanuel is what, or Ari Gold, sorry. Ari Gold is watching a movie and he hates it. So he tells the projectionist, like, break the projector. And then he's like, oh, come on. What is going? And then he walks out. So I always think about that when I'm watching a boring movie. But
Yep.
books to me, when I like, if there's a very rough, like chapters 1, 2, and 3, I always go, "It has to get better," right? Like, it would like, I wouldn't have picked this up. I'm not a person to get, like, awed by the cover. I think it does help, but I'm
Yeah.
never looking at a cover and being like, "I gotta read it." I always browse through it, and if I don't like it by chapter 3, it's getting closed and we're getting returned and/or
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I used to be up until maybe the last, like, 5 years, if I started a book, I had to finish it,
yeah.
and I would, like, drag my way through it. But then, like, a few years ago, I decided life is too short to read shitty books, and so I will put them down if I'm not interested, usually after, like, somewhere in the range of 50 to 100 pages, but I don't know what made me keep going on the Court of Thorns and Roses. I think probably because so many of my friends were so invested in me reading it. Are you looking it up? Yeah. Sarah J. Moss, I don't know how to say
Moss.
it.
AMWAAS.
Yes.
Oh, there's a lot of things happening in here.
There's so much, and let me just tell you, like, the whole first 65% of the first book was, like, the main girl basically, like, going to this weird magical land and falling in love with this fucking weirdo who can transform into, like, a weird saber-toothed tiger. That's inaccurate.
Yeah.
But it was just I was like, "Dude, this is so bad." And I also now, though, have realized because I like the second book better and it's a different set of characters without ruining anything in case you ever decide to read fantasy, which you won't, but,
I won't.
um, I think I realized that a big part of the reason why I didn't like the first book is because it centers around this one character that I was like, "This guy's such a fucking moron." Like, I just was so irritated with his character from start to finish, and I was like, "Are we done with him yet?" So now the second book, we're in kind of a different world, if you will, and better characters, so I'm like, "Okay, I feel a little more invested now that I actually like the characters who are taking up the majority of the book."
Good. The series is picked up by Hulu to become a TV show,
Oh.
and you'll like this. She was adopted by a Catholic mother and a Jewish father.
Oh, I got the reverse.
You got the yeah. So, would
Jewish mother, Catholic father.
going back to the wonderful world of the book club, how did that
Mm.
start about, and then how does it work? So, does one person pick a book and everybody reads it, or
Okay, so let me tell you how it came about because I have always wanted to be a part of a good book club and I have been a part of a book club in the past. Here's the thing that irritates me more than almost anything, like about readers, right? Like there's
yeah,
a distinction there for
yeah,
me. So I was in a book club and there was a decent number of us, I think maybe like 8 to 10 somewhere. Maybe that's generous. Probably like 8. And we picked a book, reading the book, whatever. And the day came that we were going to have our little Zoom meeting and talk about it, and like everyone bailed, said they didn't finish the book, didn't have time, and I'm like, why are you in a book club? Like
yeah.
it's cool if you don't want to spend your spare time reading, that's totally fine, but like don't join a book club. um and feel like I hate it when, a lot of time the response I get, like I shared recently in a work meeting, they were like, dumbass icebreakers, whatever. Tell us a fun fact about yourself. And I was
Yeah.
like, I read like 50 books last year or whatever. And the person who was like moderating the meeting was like, oh my gosh, I wouldn't have time for that. And I'm like, okay, like it's just like such a backhanded way of like everybody has 24 hours in a day. Everybody has downtime in a day. What you choose to do with your downtime is up to you, but don't like demean my choice of hobby by saying, "Oh, I just don't have time for that." Anyway, full circle, that book club died very quickly
Yeah.
because nobody really gave a shit, which is fine. Um Kaylee and I were talking about like I want a book club because I love being able to like buddy read stuff with
Mhm.
people and like talk about it. So, but I wanted commitment. So, me and Kaylee were like, okay, it's the two of us. We know we'll finish the books, whatever. Is there anyone else that like is would follow through and like read the book and like show up. So it's me, Kaylee, Kinsey, and my friend Kylie, which just realized I'm the only D in that combo. Kinsey, Kaylee, Kylie. And we are doing we decided to make it low pressure. So we rotate who picks the first book we just started. So Kaylee picked the first book and we do every other month. So we have 2 months to
Mhm.
read a book. Not that I would ever, none of
Love
us
it.
take that long to read, but at least then you still have time to read other books and
Yeah.
like you're not rushed, whatever. So our first book club meeting is I think is it next week? Yeah, I think it's next week or the week after.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our current model. Oh, and there are rules. Rule 1 is you have to get buzzed on the book club meeting. And then rule number 2 is you have to take notes while you read, like keep notes in your phone because we all read. And so it's like if you read it at the beginning of your 2-month period, then you've like forgotten it by the time you
Mhm.
get to the meeting. So we have to take notes. Those are our 2 rules.
Is there a name for this book club?
Buzzy Book Club.
Pussy Book Club. I like it.
That was me because I named it that. It's not our official name, I don't think. But when Kaylee made the first rule that we have to drink wine and get buzzed, that's what I dubbed it.
Oh,
So
so there's like multiple factors of the buzz.
yeah,
Yeah, nice. All right.
yeah,
I'm glad you're doing this non-pregnant.
yeah,
Not
same.
during pregnant.
I'm glad I'm doing everything non-pregnant.
It's good. You know what? I obviously a lot of people give birth, and then now that my friends are giving birth, I give people a lot of credit. And again, not to turn this into a mother podcast, but like when I'm full, like I eat too much, I'm full, and I feel like sluggish. And then some woman told me, my friend, she's like, imagine that just for like months at a time. I'm like, dude.
That's putting it mildly, Tay.
Mm.
Okay. Because that's just feeling mildly uncomfortable. Women's blood volume doubles when we're pregnant. Do you know the
Right.
amount of hormones we have to deal with? I mean,
I'm all
imagine feeling sluggish and fat and awful. And then on top of that, literally your whole anatomy is also changing and you're like accommodating, building another human person inside of your own body. It's horrifying.
I'm a bit sexist. I lean 70-30 towards women. So I support you all the way. Not just
Thank you.
you, most
I
women.
think everyone should lean 70-30 towards women.
Well, let me tell you, because if men could get pregnant, the complaints and the laws we make as we get pregnant, we
No,
would
I
take
think,
like 9 month, like
hey,
after birth, like leave. We'd be like, I can't come in.
no, humanity would end.
Yeah,
Okay.
that too. Yeah, that too.
If men had to carry babies and give birth, humanity would just die out.
There'll be couple men who are like brave enough to just go through it, but they'll never have multiple kids.
No,
Like
no.
there'll be a lot of only like it'll be normal. Like, oh, you have a sister? Like you have a brother? Like, oh,
It
you're a
would be like
twin.
a strange
Okay.
occurrence. Yeah, no.
And my
That's
dad's still in postpartum depression after 14 years. Like, and then so I don't wish that upon the world. That'd be kind of
yeah.
yeah. I would leave. I would like get on spaceship, take a bunch of dogs.
Bye.
I'd be like, I can't, or go to live in an island with a bunch of animals. I'd be like, I can't. This
That
is
would
not
be
for
better.
me.
Yeah.
This is a little bit more analytical. You study people kind of for your work, right?
Do.
And talk to people. So why do you think some people don't read? You think it's just like a hobby thing, like zero interest, or you think it's an effort thing?
I think it's 2 things. And one of the things, and I'm not joking about this. I'm thinking of one of my friends in particular who's like, you could not pay me, like reading is so boring, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I truly believe that people who say they don't like reading have not found the type of book that they like.
Mhm,
That's my top answer to that question because everybody has interests and there are books about everything in the whole fucking world. So if you can identify any interests, anything that makes you feel excited, anything that you're passionate about, there is a book about it and you would like it. So I'm just like, I think that people who don't like to read haven't found the right book. That's number one. Number two is I feel like there's a component of like a lot of people want their hobbies to feel productive
mhm.
and like physical, you know? And like I like to go to the gym. I like to work out. I like to go for walks with my dogs. Like, there's things I like to do that involve movement, but my favorite thing in the world to do is sit my ass on the couch and read. And I feel like people take issue with feeling like lazy
Mhm.
if they do that, which I do. I mean, I understand that. Um, but like then my answer to that is there's audiobooks. Go do something active and listen to an audiobook. Like I don't know. But yeah, my main thing is honestly that I think that people haven't found the right books. My husband, who does not read, he has not finished a book since he finished Harry Potter back in like who the hell knows when. But our Wi-Fi went out for like a day and a half and it was like overnight. And he was like, "Babe, do you have any books that are like about sports?" And like maybe like a mystery. And I was like, "Yes, I do." Because there's this one book that I'm obsessed with, actually, the author I'm obsessed with. So anyone who's into sports doesn't like to read. The author is Frederick Bachman. The first book in the series. Why am I blanking?
You want me to look it up?
Yeah. Frederick Bachman, and I can't because I've read literally all of his books, so I get them confused. The Winners is the most recent one,
Is he
but
Swedish?
it's Beartown. Beartown.
Oh,
Yes,
nice.
he
Yeah.
is. Town by
I
Frederick
read A
Bachman.
Man Called Obey.
Oh my god, it's
Yeah.
so good. If you liked that, you should also read My Grandmother Asked Me to Tell You She's Sorry. It's a mouthful. But that one's also really good. But anyways, Beartown is about it's a little hockey town. They're like a big hockey town. That's like their thing. And
Mhm.
so there's a big like scandal in the town because one of the top hockey players on the championship team sexually assaults a girl in the town, and she's like coming out and talking about, so there's like mystery kind of involved in like some gritty like thrillery sort of stuff, but it's also about hockey. And I was like, I have a book for everything, so I gave that book to Curtis and he like tore through half of it,
Yeah.
and then he finished it on a trip, and then he read the second one. And I was like, even my husband, who claims he doesn't like to read, there is a book for him. As long as you know like what you're interested in, you can find a book, you
You
know?
have a valid point there. So, him that I know and our wonderful redheaded friend that we mentioned earlier, they are obsessed with their respective football teams, as
Obviously.
we well know. So the draft is happening soon. So they read draft coverages like front and back, ESPN
They
mag, like everything.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm like, you're reading now, so just do it in a book form.
Curtis, every night before we go to sleep, is scrolling through reading articles on his phone about sports stuff. So I'm
Yeah.
like, that
It's
yeah.
and he reads it because now he sends me, like, Instagram clips. A long time ago when those didn't exist, he used to send me, like, articles, like,
Mhm.
when Sports Illustrated was much bigger and ESPN was much bigger, you didn't need a subscription to read. Like, everybody likes like, when Facebook was more usable, the people used to just share, like, articles, right? It's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, did you" I'm like, "What?" Like, they're
People
doing
used to read articles.
articles?
Yeah.
And then now, like, magazines are going out of business. Do you think, I don't know if you work with, like, young adult and or kids professionally, but do you think reading is, let me phrase this better. Do you think kids are now reading less or more or the same?
It's hard to say. I don't work directly with kids. I
Yeah.
have in the past, but that's not really my jam. I like to work with adults. But I feel like just based on like anecdotal information alone, it seems like kids are reading less just because there's so much content and so much technology and so much other stuff
Mhm.
that is like, more like objectively stimulating. Like you can see it, it's right there, and like more instantly rewarding than
Yeah,
sitting down and reading a book. So I feel like my gut would say that it's probably less,
yeah.
but that's why I'm very like, my daughter is allowed to watch whatever I don't care. Like she can watch TV. I don't care. Like if you find stuff that's like cute and she enjoys it, like whatever. I'm not one of those
Mhm.
parents who's like, no screen time. It's not my jam. But I do make sure that like I'm reading to her like constantly because that was such a pivotal like thing for me, like having my mom read to me. And that's what really got me going. So I'm like, I mean, she may or may not be a reader, we'll see, but like damned if I'm not gonna try, you know what I mean?
Picking on your she's not a you don't know if she's a reader yet. If you had to pick a side now, I'm not trying to have you pick a side, but
But
if
you are though.
I'm definitely am probing. Do you think your daughter, as of now, likes sports more like her dad or likes reading more like her mom?
Reading for sure, because she don't have any idea
Y
about. I mean, she has, like, little, like, she has toy balls, or, like, she has, like,
Yeah,
a little 49ers football, and she'll play with it, but she will actually sit and listen to me read a book.
but she's not watching a 49ers fumble a football with Curtis and him getting huffy. You know, it's funny because he's such a nice guy when he huffs and puffs about sports. It's like, "Oh."
I know, it takes you
I'm
by
like,
surprise a little bit.
I'm like, "Mm."
Yep.
It's a little off-putting.
Gets a little aggro about his football
Little
team.
his team, sometimes baseball teams too, you know?
God, baseball's so boring. Don't get me started. I try
I
I try as much as possible to not allow baseball to be on a TV when I'm in a room.
I'm a huge baseball fan, but I know it's boring, but I grew
It's
up with
so
it.
boring.
It's it's fun
It
for
makes me
some.
wanna gouge my eyes out with a melon baller.
Even live, like, if you went, like, in a live.
No, live is better, but to me, live is better not because baseball is any more exciting live. It's just because you then have like the snacks and like the environment and the ambiance of like a fun like outing. Like
Yeah,
I
there's a
literally
there's a nice ambiance for baseball games, huh? Something
sure,
very
yes,
fun
but
about
it's
that.
again, baseball's still boring.
Alright.
I
Well,
hate it.
another another
I hate
podcast.
it.
I'm flying to Milwaukee to watch a baseball game in, like, about a month.
You would have to pay me to do that.
I am paying myself to go,
No, you're paying someone else to
and
go.
I'm paying other companies for my enjoyment, and I get a nice Henry Winkler Fonz bobblehead. So I'm very
Why?
so Happy Days, the TV show, is based on Milwaukee.
Okay.
So they're having like a 50-year anniversary, and they're giving out the Fonz bobblehead.
Wow, this sounds fun
Fun. For
for
all
you.
the audio listener, there was an interesting face there. Here's
Yeah.
some hard-hitting questions for you. This is like would you rather kind of. So
Okay,
out of all you're a fan of Harry Potter.
obviously.
If you had to pick one book and then I'm a dictator and I'm burning the other ones, which one would you save?
Of the 7 Harry Potters?
Yeah. Or I guess, well, the movie's 8, right? But yeah, of the 7 Harry Potters. Yeah. Yeah.
Don't. 7 books, Tay.
7 books.
Um, I think I would say book 4.
Is that Goblet of Fire?
Mhm.
I
I was gonna say 6, but Sirius Black dies in 6, and that one devastates
Oh,
me.
you just spoiled it for everybody. What is wrong with you?
Harry Potter has been out for, like, 25 years. No spoilers, or, like, if you haven't read it by now, then you're screwed.
Or watch the movies, right? Yeah. At
Yeah.
least. Yeah.
Mhm. Or wait, no, Sirius dies in the 5th book. Wow. I just lost my whole, credibility. He dies in the 5th book, and then Dumbledore dies in the 6th book. So
I'm a
both of
big
those are rough.
I'm a big Gary Oldman fan.
Oh,
So,
same.
yeah, so when they're like, Gary Oldman's in the 3rd Harry Potter," I'm like, "What?" And then I'm a big, Alfonso Cuarón fan, and he directed 3. I'm like,
He did.
"What? I need to go watch this."
Have you watched all of them?
Yeah, I think the movie-wise, I get 6 and 7 part 1 kinda like, I'm like, "Who like, where's Robert Pattinson?" And I'm like, "Where they."
He did.
Yeah, I'm like, "What? Like, who?" I know, like, obviously, like, Harry, quote, quote, "dies" in one of them, right? But and
Yeah.
then I remember one movie was fairly Quidditch heavy. So
Mm.
I kinda get 5, 6, and part of 7 kinda, like, mashed together. But I think it's because I watched it, like, in a series.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
But, like,
But yeah, I
3 is
think
my
4.
favorite. I love 3.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
4 is the one he has an Asian girlfriend.
Yeah, actually, now that you oh god, this is so hard. I do feel like 3 is really good too.
It's so dark.
Um,
2's dark, and then 3 took it to another, maybe because there's a prison, but 3 took it to another level. I'm like, "There's a lot of."
yeah.
Like,
I just remember, like, the twists in 3, like, you're not expecting, like I don't know. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to pick.
they time travel in 3 too, right? Don't they, like, go back in time? There's, like, some Back to the Future elements there too?
Yep.
Okay, now the other question. You're trapped in like, your baby's safe, your family's good, you're on an island,
Okay.
maybe you're not safe, and you don't know how long you'll be there, but you could
Okay.
bring 3 books. What would you bring?
Um,
You can't bring your Kindle and download more books, that is not allowed.
so 3 books,
Book.
not theories.
Yeah, some genie popped out and offered you 3 books. 3 series? Lady, that could be like 21 books.
Correct.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be strategic here. I'm, like, trying to think of favorite books that are also long,
and,
like,
like,
take up
rereadable, right?
yeah,
While you're thinking, I really enjoyed this book called The Underground Railroad by Colson Whitehead,
oh, yeah, I've heard of it.
but I can't reread it because it's fairly
Like, dark and
dark,
horrible.
and,
Yeah.
like, I read it, I don't need to
Yeah.
reread it.
Okay, okay, I'm trying to think of, like, different okay. Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Is that the first one?
Mhm.
Okay,
Good shit.
yeah.
I'm trying to think of, like, different genres. White Oleander by Janet Fitch.
Oh, yeah, classic there. The last one's always the hardest, right?
Yeah.
Regarding Dragon Tattoo, I always tell people it was such a good book. They made 2 movies out of it.
Yeah, one
A s
Swedish, one
one
American.
thing yeah.
I would probably honestly, after I answer this and we hang up, I'm gonna be like, "God damn it, I should have said" this is too hard of a question for me. But I think for book 3 to be safe, I would say HP7 because it's big and it gives you like the closure of the ending and it would take up a lot of time because it's long.
You'll
So,
definitely hollow yourself.
yeah. I
Part
was
1.
gonna say I was gonna be crazy and say The Stand by Stephen King because it's enormous, but I actually haven't read that. I have it, but I haven't read it. But if I brought it and I, like, had a new book to read, that'd be great, but what if I didn't love it?
I should not put this out in the world, but I'm going to. So I'm a big fan of Stephen King, but
Same.
I I don't l I didn't really like his newer stuff.
I love his newer stuff. What have you read? What's the newer
Uh,
stuff you've read?
I just read, Who's the Serial Killer?
Billy Summers?
Billy Summers, yeah, I just read Billy Summers.
Come on, you didn't
No,
like
Billy
that?
Summers is one of the better one, but I read Cell, I didn't really like. I'm
I
like,
haven't read that.
"Just don't"
Okay,
it's a cell phone one, like, it makes you go, like, cuckoo. I'm like, "Just don't answer the
that
phone." Like
sounds kinda corny.
yeah.
The Institute, did you read that one?
I have not read that one, but I want to.
Okay, I know you said you only read nonfiction,
Unless
but
it's Stephen King, and
if you have an exception for
sometimes
Stephen
Dean
King,
Koontz.
I have actually never read him. But me, my mom, and my brother read The Institute at the same time. It was so good. And I am a very tough critic of sci-fi because
Yeah.
I find it very corny and it's hard for me to get invested.
Mhm.
But The Institute was so good. It was literally one of those ones where like once you're like 10 pages in, you're like, oh my God, what the fuck is happening? And you just like can't. I went through it so fast. It was so good.
I I think it's because I miss the old Stephen King who describes things like like, I think in The Shining, there's a scene where, like, the caretaker, he takes out his handkerchief, blows his nose, looks at it, puts it away, and he does it again. And I'm like, "It's
You
completely
like
unnecessary." But I think I'm used to that.
yeah.
So, when I read, like, Carrie and Salem's Lot, I think those were the first 2, and then someone's like, "You know, there's a movie, Carrie." I'm like, "You mean I could just watch the movie and not read it?" I was, like, 13 probably, but Stephen King has, like, good series too, right? Like, The Gunslinger was really good. I forgot the part 2 one, but there that movie wasn't good, but the book's great. And then his book called On Writing, that's a great memoir slash, like, how to write a book. It's kinda
Oh,
like weird tips, but kind of fun. He talks about like he had a ear like he blew out his eardrum and like they had to stick a needle in to pop it, and it's very descriptive.
oh.
Like, whoa, Mr.
We
Steven,
didn't need all of that.
you didn't need all that, sir. Just talk about your writing. Move on. So yeah, it's great. And then I mean he's been around for a while and I enjoy his
Yeah.
movie. And then these are some rapid fire questions. So just answer as you go. I
Okay.
have a couple more reading questions afterwards. Also, I'll ask a couple of the reading ones now. Is there anybody in your family that don't read besides like your immediate family?
So
What
my dad does not read. My brother and sister, my brother used to be an avid reader and he's slowed down. He doesn't read very much anymore.
he chose sports over reading, huh?
Sports and video games. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then my sister reads, my mom reads, Curtis will read when the Wi-Fi's out.
yeah. So you got to take out the Wi-Fi too.
Yeah, just unplug it and be like, I don't know what happened.
Do you think Mr. Charles reads? And I'm not talking about Curtis.
No.
Anything? Magazines?
No. No, well, yeah, I get actually he reads the newspaper in the morning.
Oh yeah, he does because he used to be my gym buddy. I used to see him in the gym in the morning. Yeah.
Yep.
So he's still in that print paper.
Although he's not anymore though. He does it on his iPad now.
That's pretty fancy. Did Cindy
The
get an
death the
iPad?
death of print. Oh, yeah, he's always had an iPad. He's obsessed with his iPad.
I always feel like I mean, I'm sure he loves his children, but he loves his tie-dye t-shirts,
Yeah.
sports, his iPad,
Yeah.
Locker Center.
Yeah. It's accurate. All
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah, all accurate question. Some rapid fire questions for you, so don't think too hard. Just kinda answer as you
Mhm.
go.
It's hard for me. Okay.
Here we go. So favorite number?
13.
Why?
Family. It's a family number. A lot of people have birthdays on the 13th, and everyone thinks 13 is an unlucky number, so we've adopted it as our lucky number.
Interesting. Speaking of numbers, I read 1408, the Stephen King book, the hotel one.
I
And
didn't read that. I
yeah.
read 11/22/69 or
That
11/20
yeah,
whatever
that's a
that
good one. And
that
then
is a good
I
one.
slept in a room 1408, and I felt like it was
Ooh.
I'm
Yep.
like, "I'm pretty sure there's, like, something looking at me, and there's nobody
Yep.
else in the room." All right. Favorite number 13. Favorite color.
Black. It's true.
Favorite place to visit.
Hawaii.
Would you rather know when you die or how you die?
Oh, fuck. That's a hard hitter.
That's a hard hitter. Yeah.
I think how.
Okay. See how I gave you some softballs and then it's like
Yeah, and then you went
yeah,
really for the throat there.
really deep, right? Will you would you rather share your search history with the world or share your credit card statement?
Probably my credit card statement. There's nothing secretive on there. I mean, I don't know that there's much secretive in my searches either, but
Nothing provocative on either front.
I don't think so. Not off the top of my head.
Do you think women have men figured out better or men have women figured out better?
Women have everything figured out better, and I stand by that.
Right. If
Yeah.
you could bring back one thing from your past, what would it be? It could be physical, metaphysical, emotional, or mental state.
I mean, I was gonna say my dead sister. Does that count?
Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
Boom. My sister.
I second that option too. That's
Thank you.
if you could go anywhere, time, money, like vacation time, daycare wasn't a problem, where
Yeah.
would you go?
Ireland. I haven't been to Ireland, and I just feel like I would fit in well.
That's my favorite country.
Really?
That's my favorite country. Yeah.
I really just feel like I probably would never come back if I went to Ireland. I feel like I would really fit in there. Plus, I'm so pale. I feel like I would just worm my way right into society.
Are there any Irish in you in the family of
Like a little bit, yeah. My dad's
very
side, because he's Catholic and like
some somebody
a white,
Mother
different
Ca
whiteness.
different Catholics
Yeah.
mingled in thing. I went to Dublin kind of on a whim. I had a week off. I had a fantastic time, and then everybody there was so cheery. I'm like, why is everybody so like Disneyland cheery?
Yeah. And actually, this is obviously different. It's not Ireland, but when I studied abroad in England when I was in college, we
Mhm.
went to Scotland for a weekend.
Yeah,
Nicest people I've ever met in my life.
it was like on. I'm like,
Friendly.
I wanted to be like, are you pulling a chain? Are you gonna rob me later?
No.
And then
Well,
they're
maybe.
maybe, but very only bad thing about well, 2 things now. Like one was I guess I was used to it, but every Saturday morning and Sunday morning in Dublin, it smelled horrendous in the alleys, like horrendous,
Why?
like puke, pee, just
Oh, yep.
like post drinking college
Yep.
smell, like and they have
Yep.
stone street, so it just kind of stays. It never
Yep.
until
Just
somebody
sits
walks
there.
through. Yeah. And then second thing was they had a huge economic boom. So when I went, I never felt things I was paying for was expensive. But if you go now, like prices have gone up. So and not because like everywhere prices went up. Prices gone up because a lot of the tech companies kind of poured money into like Dublin and different parts of Ireland. So everything kind of just went up in prices. No, but you should definitely go. I strongly suggest it. This is a kind of a poopier question. Worst travel experience?
There's two that come to mind. One is Paris.
Yeah.
Not not fun for me. They were not nice to me, scoffed at me if I tried to like say a phrase in French because obviously I'm not fluent. I was just trying to be nice and like try to not just assume that people spoke English. And I got like dirty ass looks. It just overall, the people were so rude. Like I stood in a restaurant for like 20 minutes before anyone even acknowledged me to see if I wanted to sit down. I mean, it was just not fun. I was
Yeah.
ready to go back to England at the end of the weekend. And then this is just like the whole trip was incredible. But the last time I was in Maui, we got to the airport 2 hours before our flight because I am neurotic and that is what they say to do. So I do it.
Mhm.
And we barely made it to the gate. I don't know if you've been to the airport in Maui, but it is
What's happening?
so unorganized,
Yeah.
so awful. And I was like, we may literally miss our flight. And we were here 2 hours early. And it was so stressful at the end of like the best trip. And it was just not a good way to end it. But those two,
Did you make the flight though?
barely. But yes.
That's good. Regarding Paris, I thought Paris was very overrated when I went, and then
Yeah.
I think it's still the most visited city in the world.
That doesn't surprise me.
But it took me, I think, 3 different times. Like my third time, I'm like, okay, I know where to go now. So
Right. And I think
yeah.
if I would go back to France, I wouldn't go back to Paris. Like I would want to do more of like a fun countryside France sort of thing. But and I also did have a really good chocolate croissant when I was in Paris. So
Oh, the
they get
croissants there. Croissants there. Oh man.
unreal. Yeah.
I took my mom to Europe last year, and then she's kind of difficult at times. And then she had a croissant there. She's like, "This is the best croissant I've ever had." And ever had is not her like it's not in her vocab, it's not in her
Yeah.
lexicon. This is the
Yeah.
best I've ever had." And I'm like, she thought about buying more, freezing them,
Yeah.
like, taking them
Yeah.
home, like,
I would. The
crazy.
French know how to croissant. That
Oh,
is
they
true.
really know, and then, like, the smell. Oh, here's a fun South of France story. So I was in South of France in a city called Toulouse. So it was like a friend of a friend, and she's like, oh, we were speaking in Spanish. She's like, "I heard you're traveling. Like, which other cities are you going?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to Vienna." They're like, "Oh, nice." I'm like, "I'm going to Prague." They're like, "Oh, very nice." I'm like, "I'm going to Zurich." They're like, fancy, fancy." Then I'm like, "I'm going to Paris after that." They're like, "Fuck Paris." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Whoa." I'm like, "Aren't those your people?" And they're like, "Do not ever." She got in my face, like, "Do not ever call
People have
them."
strong opinions about Paris.
I'm like, "Wow, there's like a very anti-Parisian thing outside of Paris." So
Yeah.
that was interesting.
Yep.
Next travel question. What are your must travel essential? I guess I could start out with a Kindle, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Kindle, no question. That's like you can stop there. Kindle.
yeah. Kindle, that's it. And then
Yeah.
besides like phones and stuff, like do you have like a whoopee or a blanket or like a pillow you take with you or
No.
no? Kindle.
Kindle. Yep.
Have you ever forgotten your Kindle on a travel?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so it's a must.
That's like the first thing in the bag at all times. And God forbid I forgot my Kindle. I have the Kindle app on my phone so I can still read.
Oh, win-win. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I do Audible a lot on my phone. That was, like, my travel
Mhm,
go-to.
mhm.
Speaking of traveling, would you rather time travel to the future or go back in time?
Back.
Okay. Do you have a specific time?
No, but it would be nice to visit people, you know?
Like, but you would go in your lifetime, right? Not like ancient Egypt?
No, no, like, I was just thinking in my lifetime.
Okay, gotcha. Do you have any questions for me?
What is your favorite book you've ever read?
I don't know if it's my favorite, but I read the book Holes multiple times because
Hell yeah, good answer.
I was an immigrant and I didn't read well because I didn't know English. And then
Aw,
Holes was a book recommended to me by one of my favorite teachers at the time.
it's a
And then
great book and a
there's
great
some,
movie.
and then there's a very interest like the whole like Stanley Yelnats, like Stanley backwards, like a palindrome. So like there was a nice and there's a nice flashback that's not like it's relevant, it's not irrelevant, and it's like there's like a racism motive, but it's not like in my face.
Yeah, yeah, there's good
It's
underlying themes.
yeah,
It's a good
and then
book.
there's like all the characters like very like oh there's a warden who's been digging for the like in her entire life, so she's kind of gone mad,
Yeah,
right?
a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's lots of elements. Yep,
so holes really do it for me. Yeah,
love that. Good
yeah,
answer.
and then I have some nonfiction books like uh
No,
oh, like
no.
Biography of Lincoln, I'm a big fan of, and do
I
you
mean, okay, I bet that's probably interesting, but, like, no.
yeah, I'm very fascinated about how authors write, like, their writing process. Like,
Um
I love that. Like, Victor Hugo, like the
Mhm.
French, back to Paris. Victor Hugo used to lock himself into a room, and his servant would come and take his, like, clothes and blanket and lock the door, and unless Victor Hugo produced, like, 6 pages, he wouldn't unlock the door. I'm
Mm,
like, it's a little psychotic, but
it is definitely psychotic.
very productive, I guess.
I have a recommendation for you if you like
Yeah.
nonfiction. Eric Larson.
Oh, yes.
Have you read anything by Eric Larson?
Yeah, you have do you have, like, a Nordic people, like, fandom?
What?
Like the Swedish author?
Oh,
Like
maybe. Maybe
yeah.
I do.
I read, what is it
Yeah,
called?
you're right. I've mentioned like 3 now, huh?
Yeah, just things
Maybe
where
I like Swedish authors.
Eric Larson wrote, the Triple H Holmes book, right? Devil in the White City?
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. Devil in the White City, and then there's the one about In the Garden of Beasts.
Yeah, I read that one. I think those are the I might have read the
I
3rd
have
one.
another one by him that I haven't read yet because it's like she thick, and I
He has
have
a
not.
because his books are kind of
They're dead.
nonfiction-y, right?
No,
So yeah.
yeah, they're nonfiction.
Yeah, they're like Roman at Clef. So he has a Lusitania one that I wanted to read, but I haven't
Mm,
because I'm into weird things like that.
not
Yeah,
surprising.
it's okay. That's my go-to. If someone like I'm like in like waiting in a line and some man or woman randomly asks me, they're like, "Do you want to talk about James Garfield?" I'll be like, "Do I?
Absolutely.
Do I?" I would think I've been on a prank show. I'd be like,
Again, not surprising.
okay. With that being said, uh, do you have anything else you want to talk about book wise or reading
Oh,
wise?
covered some good ground, I think.
Yes. Last question. Would you ever consider writing a book?
Yeah, I've considered it before. I don't really know what I would write about though.
Would it be fiction or nonfiction?
Whenever I've thought about it, it's more nonfiction
Yeah.
because my life, my life's been interesting. Yeah, like about grief or loss or
Mhm.
things like that. I've thought about that, but yeah, I probably won't. But I like to read. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a decent writer, but I don't enjoy it as much as reading.
You don't think you'll write like even in like decades from now? Maybe?
Who knows? I'm open to the idea.
It's not out of the question.
Not out of the question, no.
Yeah. I always, even if you don't publish it, I always encourage people to write in case like your daughter could see it or your sister could see it, your brother
Yeah,
could see it, right? Maybe you and your dad will start reading. Like, hey, I wrote a book. You have to
doubt
read
it.
it. I don't think my
Doubt
parents
it.
would read my books. Like if I ever publish a
No,
book, they
my
would
mom
buy
would.
it and they will like brag about it. They're like, oh,
Put
my
it on
son
the
read
shelf.
it."
Put it on the mantle.
Yeah. And I'm like, chapter 7 talks about you fairly critically. And they're like, nah, we
Fine,
don't
I don't need to read it.
you okay.
Yep.
Yeah, but that was fun.
Yeah,
Thanks
thanks.
for joining, and then everybody thanks for
Time.
listening.
You're listening to Waste Your Time Wisely podcast.